Hi, I'm John Balestri, known as John B Designs on Instagram. I'm a tattoo artist, I design NFTs, and I work at the Fourth Gallery. Art was something that was kind of from a young age. I saw my grandmother, her dad was a really good artist from Europe, and I used to see this portrait that she painted of herself on the wall of my mum, and I was always, as a kid, I'm like, I'll never be able to draw that. And she was German, so she was very strict, but she used to teach me a lot of things as a kid, that I probably didn't really understand until I got older. And so yeah, she really inspired me to push art. And through school, I did art. I won a lot of awards in high school, but never really thought I was going to make money from it. Like I was told, art is just something you do, it's not something you can live on. I had a friend when I was 13 and he used to tattoo from home. His dad was a biker and all this kind of stuff. It was real dodgy. But, it just kind of intrigued me in that whole world, and being into music as well, I was in bands, and all the bands, everyone had tattoos back then, I was in punk bands and stuff. And so, yeah, it just seemed like something that was around me forever. And as I got older, I did the usual corporate kind of jobs, I became a good salesperson. I became an executive accounts manager at a company called Commander. And I was moving down that track, doing really well, and I just hated it. I hated the whole corporate thing. I used to see my bosses, and they made a lot of money, they had yachts and stuff, but I just didn't like the way they were about everything, And I said to my wife, who's an artist as well, I said, I just want to do something creative. And she pretty much encouraged me. She said, just do it. What are you feeling? I said, tattooing something I really want to pursue. And yeah, I did that. Art that inspires me, I spend a lot of times, I take my kids now that I'm older, I take my kids to art galleries. Me and my wife we live in those things, we love them, modern art, Renaissance art, all that stuff. My favorite artist in high school was Roy Lichtenstein. I loved Wham, I thought it was an amazing painting, and just something about it really spoke to me. At school I didn't do great, I didn't concentrate, I didn't apply myself, but in art I really found home. I found that was something I was really interested in and I really got into it. So. Moving into tattoo, I went traditional to start with, because that's what everyone did. The guy who taught me how to tattoo, he was a really good artist. He was from Scotland. He was a good pencil drawer, and he did a lot of traditional stuff. So he kind of really grained that into me, remember where tattooing came from and stuff. So that kind of was a big part of what I did. I started researching different types of tattoos that were out there, and I found a guy called Freddie Negretti. And he was from Shamrock in America, and he talked about how he used to tattoo in prisons and stuff like that, and he started this single needle kind of stuff, and that really kind of blew me away because it was different to what I've seen, and different to what I saw people doing, and I saw this really fine detail, and the fact that when it healed, it stayed in, and I was like, oh, okay, it's different to what everyone told me that could happen, so then I was like, oh, I might try that. So I kind of worked down that route, and I found that the pencil drawings that I used to do, that I used to love drawing, I could do that now in tattoo, and over the last 11 years, I've just developed that into what I do today. The Fourth Gallery, that's something that's been coming for a long time. I feel like during my tattooing career, I started in Redfern at a place called Work of Skin. It was just like a really old schooly kind of shop. It was really cool. The guy taught me a lot of cool things. And then after he moved back to Scotland, I moved on. I went to Barrel for a little bit, and then I moved to Bondi Ink. I got an opportunity to work there. And then I met a guy called Moses. For that was huge, we just hit it off straight away. At first I didn't know, when you walk into a tattoo studio, there's heaps of egos, there's heaps of different people. You never know what you're gonna walk into. And walking in there, I met Moses and we just kind of clicked straight away. We had the same mindset about stuff, about art, and about just the industry from the way we saw it, because we're both up and coming in the industry. After Bondi, it was a street shop, worked there for 5 years, learned a lot of different styles and different art. So then I moved to Melbourne and I worked in a private studio there, which was really cool. I got to meet a lot of really cool artists and work alongside a lot of really good artists and develop my style more. And then I used to fly back to Sydney and cater to my clientele that I had here with Moses at a private studio. And we did that and that was cool, but then I remember we were speaking about an actual spot, and that's what we needed. And then Moses, a couple months later, called me up and said, hey, I'm opening up a spot. And I said, sign me up. My art style has developed throughout my tattooing career. Like I said, I started with traditional tattooing, and back in the day, everyone had a name when they were a tattooist. They were like, I'm John B Tattoos now, but back then I didn't know what I wanted to call myself. I just called myself John B at the time. But I remember I was gonna call myself Johnny Tramp Stamp because I thought that was kind of funny, you know what I mean? But it it was never really going to happen. I didn't really like doing tramp stamps. I don't want everyone coming and getting tramp stamps. But just throughout the years, I've just seen tattooing develop. New equipment's come out, making it easier for us as well when in different styles. And then realism, micro-realism, abstract. Just, yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of that. I feel like tattooing is quite an evolving art form, and you have to evolve with it or you kind of get lost in it, you know, or you get stuck in, you know, doing tribal, and that's not really what I want to do, you know. So I just like to move with what's kind of happening. I find micro-realism, abstract is definitely a big part of what I do. If I didn't find tattooing, or if I couldn't do it for some reason, when I started, I probably wouldn't, it's hard to say, I would have probably stayed in the corporate world. I'd probably be the CEO of Apple, to be honest. Like, I'm a very driven person, and I find that's something that I'm good in any industry I jump into. And it's not a brag, it's just I apply myself to whatever I'm doing, you know. So I probably would be working in corporate, still playing in bands. I would be doing all that kind of stuff, but yeah, that's probably what I'd be doing. I'll be trying to find a way to express myself creatively. Outside of work, I'm working with my brother-in-law on a company that we have. We're doing future art, digital artworks and NFTs. And being a father is full-time as well, you know, and my wife, she's a painter as well, so we're encouraging her. But that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm always doing something creative. You do start to doubt yourself sometimes, like, am I really, you know, in it? Do I really have a future in this? And there's plenty of times where I've tattooed clients where, especially in the earlier years, where it's quite depressing. They tell you a story and you take that home with you, you know, and so you start to feel this weight of it all, you know. It's quite hard. But over time, you start to develop like a muscle almost, you know. You learn how to take what people say and not carry it, you know, and that's a big thing in tattooing. You just got to push through. With my biggest paycheck, which is probably, it's my biggest, but it's not. Like, it was the first time that I actually made money and I was in the green, you know. I wasn't paying off phone bills and all the rest of the stuff that you kind of get into a lot of debt during an apprenticeship because you get paid nothing. But you get paid in knowledge, which is worth everything. The first thing when I actually realized I had a bit of extra cash, I bought a pair of Jordan 1s. It's like my favorite shoe growing up, you know, Michael Jordan was wearing them. I was like, yeah, I want a pair of those. Loved them, and that's kind of carried on to now. Like, I still get good paychecks, so I've probably got about 60 pairs, and yeah, 60 to come. I've been tattooing for 11 years now, so 10 years from now it's huge to think about what could be. And like I said, working on things like NFTs and moving into the future, you know, and working alongside Moses, and we've got plenty of big plans on ideas that we have. I'm not 100% sure where I'll be, but I know I'll still be in art and I'll still be pushing forward in that. The best advice I can give anyone in tattoo or in any creative industry, think about your motives and why you're going in there. If it's about money, there is money there, but it's a lot of work to get to that point, and a lot of motivation, there's a lot of downtimes where you don't make money. So if money's your motivation, it's the wrong place to be. But I think you need to think about especially in tattoo, I always say to any of our new apprentices, if you're not adding to the industry, it's pointless for you to be here. If you're taking from it, like it's a give and take relationship. If you're not going to add anything, you shouldn't be here. You know, we all need to add to it, and for the next future generation after that, we need to give them something to be able to, that can be a platform for them to rise up and make it better than what it was.